Good evening, William and Mary. Thank you for joining us tonight at our town hall for graduate students. We have about 30 minutes together, and we're going to try to hit at least the top 10 or so questions that have come into us this week from graduate students. We gathered questions from submissions this week, and we got over 40. Clustering them together, I think we can cover most of them. We want to share how we're making decisions concretely and efficiently tonight. We want to be as transparent as possible. So keep your questions coming our way. It's your questions that teach us what we need to say more about, where we need to explain decision making, and where we need to gather more information. We are thinking as a whole university right now, and we're going to be giving examples from all 5 schools, from arts and sciences, from business, education, law, and VIMS. And we're going to focus, however, on cross-cutting questions so as to address overarching concerns that are relevant to graduate students in many different parts of the university. I want to start by acknowledging the uncertainty that we're living through and the fact that it does not land evenly on each member of our community. Many graduate students are caring for others, maybe children or parents, while caring for your own health, while working and finishing degrees. You're simultaneously, I imagine, thinking about your future, what path you're going to take at an incredibly difficult moment. And like others in our community, you may have loved ones on the front lines of this pandemic, healthcare workers, or you may have lost somebody. So our thoughts are with you if that's the case. I'm going to start big picture, reminding you of the 4 goals that have guided our actions from the beginning of this pandemic. I hope many of you will have heard them already, but it does bear repeating because they remain our North Star. The first is to safeguard the health of our community. As you know, flourishing is one of the values that we affirmed this fall, and robust health is essential to flourishing. The second is to keep teaching and keep learning. William & Mary has adapted in an extraordinary way in the last month and a half. We could not have been successful without the wholehearted effort of our graduate students and our professional students. The third goal is to maintain our research operations and our university operations, even if in a different way. And I want to pause on that for a moment, because what that means is that we keep people working, we keep people employed. That's our goal for as long as possible. The fourth goal is to slow the spread of the virus. Joining the national effort to do that, to flatten the curve, was clearly a moral imperative for William & Mary. And it's part of our DNA, our history, to lean into service in that way. These 4 goals have been and will continue to drive every decision we've made. And as you'll hear tonight, we're approaching those decisions in a phased way and as a team. The kind of effort that is called for now cannot be accomplished well solo. Drawing from my background as a researcher, we know that when you're solving any complex problem, in order to do that well, you'll get the best solutions from the most diverse groups, people with different expertise, different backgrounds, and in this case, people who are situated in different parts of the university. In our town halls and our community conversations over the past few weeks, you will have heard from key decision makers about how collaboratively they have worked together when working through the challenges that we've faced. I want to make sure you know that when we talk about students here, what's in our mind is consciously inclusive. Graduate students, professional students, and undergraduates. In the last 2 years, I think you will have heard me in a deliberate effort to shift the way the William & Mary community describes this university as a university. We use college as our historical name for our black tie occasions. We love that history. But university is the inclusive term, and it matters to use it, especially right now, because doing so changes our mental model of who we're thinking of when we say the word student. So the last thing that I want to say before we get into questions is that it's our goal to consult widely and listen intently as we make decisions. And I'm incredibly grateful for the student leadership that I've been working with so closely this spring. Our student assembly leaders have been incredible advocates for all students and for all of William & Mary, actually. They help us listen broadly and thoughtfully. They bring us more perspectives to our decision making. They help me and the William and Mary leadership hear how our decisions are landing and how we can communicate the reasoning behind them and the process as transparently as possible. So with that shift, I'm going to introduce our guest for this conversation. Graduate Student Council President, Erin Schwartz. Madam President, welcome.
Thank you.
Dave Douglas, the Dean of the William and Mary Law School. Anne Marie Stock, who's our Vice Provost for Academic and Faculty Affairs. Carlene Pittman, who's Director of MBA Programs. And Sam Jones, Senior Vice President for Finance and Administration. Thanks for being here tonight, everyone. So here's the game plan, just to remind you all. Short questions, fast, concrete answers so we can get through as many of the topics as possible. With that, Erin, over to you for the top 3 questions from graduate students.
All right. Thank you for inviting me here, and I look forward to having a productive discussion with you all. So, President Rowe, the question we'll start with is one we have heard most frequently, which is, what is the plan for fall semester?
Yeah, that's the key question. The plan for fall semester. What we are planning for is to be together in person on campus as long as it's safe. So we have stood up a planning process that'll work very, very quickly over the next month with the goal of being able to build some scenarios that we can share with the community, how we will adapt to maximize that opportunity. We're working closely in that planning process with the Council of Presidents and with the Virginia Department of Health and with the Department of Education. So we have a big network that's thinking about both the logistics of being together in person, the public health questions, and many other dimensions of that.
Great. Do all graduate programs have to follow the university's decision? For example, Dean Douglas, if the university moves entirely online, must the law school as well?
Can you hear us? I think we may have lost Dean Douglas. I'll take the short answer, and then perhaps Carlene Pittman and Marie Stock can help me with that. We're making our decisions at a high level centrally. We're communicating centrally, but we're problem solving locally. That's been a principle that we've used all along, and it's been a really strong one. So there might be different paths forward within some larger framework of decision making for each of the schools.
That is exactly what we're doing in the School of Business. We are working very closely with President Rowe and her team to determine really what our next steps are, but within the framework of the university.
Okay. And I think that's consistent with all of the schools. Different modes, different practices, but always in sync with the overall university direction.
Living the law school.
Hey, you're back?
I'm back.
Terrific. Erin, go ahead. Next question.
Okay. So back to President Rowe, commencement is another big topic of discussion. So can you talk about the decision to hold an in-person October commencement? What factors were considered in that process?
Yeah, thanks. Terrific question. Another principle that we're using is phased decision making. So as all of you know, we deferred the question about how we would grapple with commencement while we waited to gather more information. That turned out to be incredibly helpful, actually. It's hard to wait in uncertainty, but if you know that you're waiting for a shared goal, it isn't quite as hard. And the shared goal was really clear. We're going to have commencement in person. However that takes, even if it's only 4 people, we're going to do it in person. But in classic William and Mary way, as we started to explore the question, it became clear that we wanted a both-and solution. We wanted both a virtual conferral of degrees in May on our usual date, and we wanted to be in person, and we weren't going to choose between them. We were going to embrace both solutions. To have the degrees is incredibly important because students who are graduating need to move on to other graduate schools or to their jobs, and we didn't want to delay that either.
Definitely. So is there a backup plan if the October commencement needs to be postponed?
Yes, absolutely. The primary backup plan is that we'll do commencement next spring, after the week after our commencement. But the key thing is to know we're going to do it in person.
I'm really glad to hear that. So we also received several questions about tuition. So can you please address what's happening with that?
I don't think I need to tell everyone listening how much uncertainty there is right now. We joined the national effort to flatten the curve of impact on public health, on our individual health and our community's health. We're also working hard at William & Mary to flatten the curve of financial impact on our students and our families. And the Board of Visitors and leadership concurred really very straightforwardly that this spring we would roll back the planned tuition increase and we wouldn't enact any other increases. So there will be 0% increase in tuition and mandatory fees for all students, graduate students and undergrads, in state and out of state. It'll be challenging financially, but it's doable. We are sure of that. And it's the right thing to do. When we can reduce some area of uncertainty and bring clarity, we're going to do that. And this is one case where that was really clear. Okay, let's look at the next questions that we have. Maybe Vice President Jones, thinking about the tuition question, I'll pick this one. Will tuition and fees next semester be adjusted if we have to go online in the fall?
Well, I'll go back to where you were earlier in saying that it's our plan that we will be on campus with all of our students in the fall, as long as we can do that in the safest way possible. So much planning is going around that piece of it. When you look back at our history, when we have offered online and on-campus courses both, usually in the summer, we really haven't had a differential for that, but that's not a decision for the future. You know, we'll see where we go as we look at a variety of options. Again, I'd go back to, we plan on seeing everyone here.
Right, I have a related question, a couple of financial questions actually. Let me ask you about rebates. What was the process for determining rebates for students?
Good question, and one that was raised by the undergraduates and by the parents as well as we've gone through these town halls. So it became apparent to us very quickly after we had to suspend classes and go to remote learning that we weren't bringing students back to campus, and therefore there were services they were getting, whether that was housing, dining, or parking, that they needed to get some of those funds back. The question for us was, how would you go about those calculations? And what we found, and I'll use housing as the example, is that we have variable costs that can go up and down. If the student's not here, you're not incurring it. But we also have fixed costs, and debt service is the main one. For the renovations and new construction we do for our student housing, you have to make those debt service payments, and they don't go away whether you're using the facility or not, whether the students are in it or not. So we looked through that and did the calculation that adjusted for some of those fixed costs, looked at what the total cost that students were paying under their different contracts. And on the housing side, we're able to work that out. On the dining side, it was related to the different meal plans that students had chosen. And then on the parking, it was just strictly prorated for the number of days that were there.
That's great. So this is a big picture finances question, and I know a lot of people have it in the back of their head. We talk about the financial pressure right now that the university feels, that our employees feel, and our families feel, and we have a huge endowment. We're really proud of it. We've been growing it. So can William & Mary use any money from that $1 billion endowment to offset losses of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, for a public university of our size and one that doesn't have a medical school or an engineering program at this point, our endowment is good. And as you said, it's right around $1 billion. But the thing to know about endowments is those are a collection of individual gifts that come from donors over an extended period of time. And their expectation is that, we will spend some income from that endowment, but not spend the core gift that they gave, because their intent is that that money will be available year after year to support it. Most of those endowments have restrictions on them. They might be for student financial aid. They might be for professorships or program support. And so we really can't take those monies and reprogram for other expenses that are loss of revenue that we might be incurring today.
Thanks. It's really helpful. Over to you, Erin.
Thank you, and thanks for that context. Vice President Jones, considering several practical issues and concerns graduate students might be facing now, first is what will be the move out process for the graduate complex?
Okay, well, it will be the same as what happens with the undergraduates. There will be a email coming out from Residence Life on Thursday, and they have worked through a schedule of when move out can occur for all of our students. And so there will accompany that email with a website that'll set the parameters around it. But we can expect it will be moving forward with that, relatively quickly. We've been watching very carefully the guidance that's coming from the governor about distance and social distancing, stay at home, but have worked with the Secretary of Education to be sure that we can do a move out of in a very safe way.
Great, thank you. And then for those students who are off campus, what is your advice for students thinking about renewing their leases for the fall?
Well, we know a lot of graduate students, are living off campus, like significantly larger number than those that live on campus. But I would really go back to what our plans are. Right now, our plans are that we're going to be here and on campus and doing on-campus activities. I can't tell anyone what personally to do, but our intention again is that we be operating fully here on campus.
Okay. So in Carlene, in thinking about summer classes and things, can you discuss how the COVID-19 pandemic is potentially going to affect the summer term?
Sure, thank you for that question. We are ready. I would say the graduate programs are prepared. Our graduate students are extremely happy that the decision was made to go online. Obviously, the goal is to have people in person, but because of everything going on, it was totally appropriate to move it online. I think they're comforted by that decision. So talk to my partners over in the School of Ed as an example, and that they are not only ready for summer, but they are actively extending our reach to schools and communities. They're doing that through webinars, tutoring, and outreach efforts. In the School of Business, we are meeting on a bi-weekly basis to go ahead and plan and give our faculty the best information possible so they can deliver online content in a way that our students will receive it.
And I'll just add, agree with everything that's been said. Our Studio for Teaching and Learning Innovation is full speed ahead, supporting faculty and graduate instructors who are offering summer courses to really continue to refine, retool, reposition, and we're very proud of that. We're very pleased to have that resource.
Awesome, that's great to hear. So Vice President Jones, as kind of a two-part question, thinking about summer and looking forward. The first part being, will there be some sort of summer employment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And first, let me back up and talk a little bit about our current employees. In that, I think as President said earlier in her comments, we are committed to keeping our folks employed for as long as possible. And that's for both our hourly and salaried employees. So to this point, we have been fortunate not to have any furloughs, not to have any layoffs. And that's very different from some of the private sector news that we're seeing out there of what's occurring. So again, we have that commitment. We also continue to work with our various contractors and who have those employees who work on campus to make sure that they can get the most significant benefits that they have. So to your question with that as background, yeah, there will be opportunities for graduate students to have employment. There are research assistants that are supported by external grants and contracts. Those works will be done and continue, in a safe way as possible. So they are coming into labs and doing work and that type of thing. Hourly hires to help with grading, as was just talked about. The online programs are out there. They'll be robust. But at the same time, graduate students can help with the grading as they would have done otherwise. And that also extends to the other offices on campus where graduate students have typically provided support. And then, many graduate students receive the summer research fellowships. And in that regard, those monies are still there to support those students and allow them to do their research, even if that's being done remotely. So a variety of ways for graduate students to be supported over the summer.
All right, that's great to hear that those funds are still going to be able to support graduate research.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm glad you also spoke a little bit more broadly to the employment landscape at the university. I know a ton of grad students are concerned about worker safety and treatment and fair compensation as well, among other things. So I know a lot of students are glad that it's or to support them.
We share the same goal. We want our employees to be safe and employed.
Maybe Sam, do you want to follow up on worker safety and talk a little bit about the essential folks on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. When we went into this situation, one of the things we encouraged was as many people as could to telework. So a large portion of our employees are working from off campus, but we recognize that not everyone can do that. And so for those essential services that are here, what we're doing is working closely with our own environmental health and safety office, which is monitoring the CDC guidelines in terms of safe practices as they work on campus, whether they need masks and other PPEs and all of those things that we talk about now that a few weeks ago we would not have known. So we're working that and monitoring that closely as we move through the process.
Okay, great. Glad that that's being addressed. Passing questions back to President Rowe.
Okay, this is for Dean Douglas. We are a global university. We have been since our founding. We're incredibly proud of that. Can you talk a little bit about how the university is supporting its international students?
Well, first of all, let me say this. Our international students are so incredibly important to William and Mary, and that's true at the undergraduate level and it's true at the graduate level. And we know that the COVID virus had a particularly strong impact on a lot of international students. It was more challenging for them after folks had to leave the university. We tried the best we could to accommodate folks. I know for the law school, many of our students were able to find residential hiring near the law school. But we know this was also a real challenge, and we've tried to do the best we can to support students. And the Reed Center is really a tremendous resource for all students at the college, our international students and those interested in international matters. And if you've not engaged with the Reed Center, it's a great place to engage.
Thanks. Back to you, Erin.
Thanks. To Vice Provost Stock, was wondering if you could give some background on William & Mary's pass-fail grading policy for the spring.
I'm happy to do that, Erin. This spring, as a measure to create greater flexibility, reduce anxiety, every school adjusted its grading policy. So graduate programs in the Mason School of Business, the School of Education, Arts and Sciences, and the School of Marine Science are all allowing pass-fail as an option. There are some slight differences depending on each school, but they're all allowing that, and students can elect pass-fail grading until May 29th. The pass-fail doesn't apply to grades that had already been assigned pre-pandemic, so short courses or early session courses that would have ended before spring break. The law school converted to universal pass-fail in keeping with actions taken by many law schools around the country. So for law students, there's no option to opt in for grades. For all students, graduate and undergraduate at William & Mary, transcripts for spring 2020 will reference COVID-19. So there's no reason anyone would have to explain why pass-fail grading. We do urge students to consider opting for pass-fail, those who have the option to reduce anxiety. And when in doubt, it's always great to speak with a graduate registrar or advisor or program director about the options. But we're really pleased to have been able to create that additional flexibility through this temporary policy adjustment. For summer, I'm aware that business and education are considering pass-fail grading, but I don't believe other schools are at this time. And for fall, it's still too early to say, but we'll definitely keep you posted as those conversations take place. And by all means, continue to share your input, because that definitely helps us know what it is that we most need to be working on.
Great. I'm not sure if you've encountered any students having any problems with this, but something that is a concern of a couple students is what is happening with incomplete courses. There's a lot of anxiety and strain, students kind of going through huge adjustment periods and kind of wondering what's happening with that potentially, if you're seeing anything with that.
You know, I think with incompletes, I would say we're communicating with faculty, urging them to be as compassionate, as flexible as possible. And so I'm not aware of any policy adjustments per se, but I am aware of the practice of really wanting to be to individually craft solutions for problems that students are facing.
Okay, thank you. And I'll pass it back to President Rowe for some more questions.
Thanks. Am I unmuted? I am. Okay. So this is for Vice Provost Stock as well, and it's a question about research. Can you talk about how the university is going to be supporting graduate student research through the summer and fall? Will there continue to be support for research trips and conference presentations?
Happy to talk about that, and I'm building a bit on what Sam Jones said earlier. At William & Mary, we're very committed to supporting as many graduate students as possible in advancing their research through the summer, through the fall. We want to do our utmost to keep all graduate students who are currently on the payroll, as well as our incoming students who have accepted offers, employed and earning. That said, each school is determining the ways in which research will continue safely during summer and fall, but all share the commitment to funding as much graduate research as possible. In terms of financial support for research trips, conference presentations, you may all know that William & Mary is not supporting travel at this time through August. There are some limited exceptions. For example, I heard from colleagues at VIMS that they need to be sending people in individual cars to sites to do fisheries management, and that mileage is being reimbursed. That's because of the personal distancing protocol, of course. But in general, no travel support through August. After that time, however, we definitely will seek ways to support travel. We understand the importance of participating in conference, doing archival work, field work, archaeological digs in Aaron's case, and we fully intend to make funds available for this. I think our message overall to graduate students in this arena is we consider your learning and your research and your teaching and your well-being as part of the William & Mary community very mission critical.
I just add that goes right back to that third goal. Keep our research operations going, keep our university operations going, and in different ways. I know VIMS, for example, has been very engaged over the last month and will continue to be in how do we adapt research to the current conditions, understanding what can happen remotely, what needs to happen in person or on site. And those adaptations are going to continue. All right, so this is, I think I'll send these questions to the professional schools here, to Dean Douglas and Caroline Pittman. Talk a little bit about how you're thinking about rankings. Do you expect any impact on your school's rankings because of the pandemic?
Well, I'll speak for the law school. We just had our most recent set of rankings about 6 weeks ago. And as some of the students may know, it was a very good year for us. We went from 39 to 31. So that was a very good year. And in fairness, it's probably too early to say what the rankings will look like next year. Having said that, there are some categories where the data is already in for next year. When we get our March rankings again 10 months from now, some of that data is already in. And frankly, it's very, very strong. Particularly, one of the most important data points in US News, at least on the law side, is employment. Our employment numbers for next year are already in the bank, and they're some of the highest we've ever had. So I'm guardedly optimistic that we had a big increase this year, and that we will have another increase this coming year. So, but again, in honesty, it's too early to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the business school, the rankings are critically important, as you know, for most graduate programs. Students decide on whether they want to come to a school based on the rankings as one of many factors in terms of how they determine. And I think for us, we don't know yet. I think, like Dean Douglas said, it is too early, and the rankings usually lag. So you're talking about 1 to 2 years. So hopefully for us, we don't have a lot of negative effects. I talked to our partners in the School of Education as an example, and they are rankings is very important for them, and research is important. They've actually done some things to stand up their research effort in terms of getting some people focused on research. We are doing the same thing in the business school. The other thing we always would say is that student impact is very important in our rankings. And we hope that students really look at the totality of their experience, and they vote their schools based on that experience. So we're hoping that we really do not see anything negative in the rankings, and that all schools are going through this pandemic. So I would imagine that all of us are in this together.
Maybe I'll just add, in a larger sense for William and Mary as a whole, we focus first on what are our values, how do we commit to them as a community, on excellence in our programs. And if you do those two things, we're confident rankings will follow. All right, another big picture, longer term question, and maybe I'll ask Carlene and then Dave, what are the law and business schools doing? And if you can talk about the other schools too, to prepare graduates entering such a challenging job market.
Thank you for that question. We are just more engaged. I talked to our career team in the business school, and they say they are just Zoom calls all day. We're doing teams with our students. We're doing presentations on navigating the current job market. We're working with our partners across the school and across campus to really figure out what is our story to tell to employers. We're trying to find alternative ways of work. So it may not be physically going to a job. It may be creating projects for our students in the short term. We're connecting with virtual and career fairs. So there are national career fairs and regional career fairs for our students. And we're engaging with partners in that effort as well. Networking events. Basically, that's one of the things we do very well in the business school, and I would imagine other grad schools as well, School of Education, BIMS, law, bright arts and sciences. We network. So we are doing texting, we're doing chatting to try to connect students with employers to make sure that they are getting the correct information so they could be really job ready. And we're working with students if there are any situations where jobs have been rescinded or things like that. We're working with students on an individual basis to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be successful in their job search.
I could chime in if I may and just say that one of the unexpected outcomes of our transition to remote and online learning is that many more alumni have been engaged in individual class sessions. And this has been a really incredible resource that I think will yield additional career pathways for students. I know in arts and sciences, graduate students there have had just wonderful opportunities to have virtual visits with alumni, and I believe that holds across the institution. Also, President Rowe's standing up this expanded career pathways team, I think bodes really well to guide all of us in seeing this holistically.
That's a perfect example because we have reached over 11,000 alumni to help our students with this job search. So that's a perfect example.
I'll speak to the law school. I'll say as dean of the law school, probably the most important thing that I care about with my students is their employment. The head of our career services office knows that every time a student gets a job, he needs to tell me because I want to hear about it. Let me say this, so far, we worried a great deal when the virus hit, whether our third-year law students who are graduating into this economy were going to be losing their jobs. So far, of all the students that we've been able to connect with, only one student has lost their job. We're spending a lot of time trying to work with our students on how to navigate this very difficult time, whether you're a third-year student or whether you have a couple of more years of law schools still to come. One of our great assets really has been our alumni. Not long after the COVID virus hit, we sent an appeal to all of our alumni and said, our students are probably going to need help with employment. If you have any needs or opportunities, please tell us. We got a tremendous response. And all of this is running through our Office of Career Services. So I want to say to all of you, William & Mary as a whole is deeply committed to developing your opportunities for great employment, the aspirations that you came to school to enjoy. So I want you to know that we have not taken a step back. We are with you. We are in it with you all the way. This is incredibly important. Just make sure that you're touching base with the career services leaders in your particular program. That's super important. Guidance can be given, but I want you to know we are in this with you.
Thank you so much. I think one of the things that's really inspiring to me right now is the kind of generativity that's happening when we pull together experts from across the university to focus on a question like this. What happens is everything that you just heard cross-pollinates from one school to another. And we're elevating everybody's best practices that way. And that's going to stand William & Mary in very good stead for years to come, I think. So we have time for one more question, and I'm going to give it to you, Erin. What would you like to ask?
All right, great. So President Rowe, as you're well aware, COVID-19 has changed the academic landscape quite a bit in Williamsburg and beyond. If this turns out to be a recurring theme, how will William & Mary address these changes in the coming years?
So recurring, we mean like we would have more pandemics again, for example. It is something that public health experts have for a while predicted one a decade as the world becomes more globally connected, that we've never seen this before in our lifetimes. I guess my answer is we are adapting, right? We are learning to adapt. We're in process of adapting, and I'm embracing that in processness, knowing that we are discovering as we go what good adaptation can look like. If you'd asked me 2 months ago, could we have taken in about 10 days the entire university, more than 2,000 classes, into a distance mode, online, in different modalities, I would have said that's not possible. And it's the incredible sense of shared purpose and embrace and openness of doing what we need to achieve our common goals that has allowed us to do that. So we've learned something that no one in the country believed about higher ed, which is that we can adapt fast when we want to and need to. I think the question that we face is, what are the adaptations that in the short term will see us through to the other side? And as we begin to answer those questions, which is what our quick planning ahead process is about right now, we're going to learn things that benefit us for the long term. How do we become more resilient in our curriculum, in our operations? How do we think broadly about our commitments to service? The last thing I'll say is, what happens with pandemics is they start by hitting people equally, and then very, very rapidly, they showcase all of the inequalities in society. And we're seeing that now. And so I hope one thing that we learn is how to address those inequalities more systematically. That's part of what an institution dedicated to service needs to be thinking about. And so of the 5 groups that are focused on planning ahead, career pathways is the 4th. I named the first 3. The 5th is broad calls to service, where William & Mary could identify vulnerabilities in our society that we can address now and dedicate ourselves to. So we'll see where we end up, Aaron. Still a lot of uncertainty, but I have enormous optimism, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be part of this community. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. And I feel fortunate my colleagues. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thanks for the thoughtful answers. I'm gonna close by inviting everybody who's listening, please keep sending us your questions. They help us get better at our decision making, and it's a work in progress. And then I will say to everyone, as I do whenever I'm closing these community conversations, stay well.